Welcome to Cololocal. It's been a minute since we've been with you, but we're back and we're here today with Wesley Watkins. You might know him from the other Black. Played with Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats. Air Dubai, Is Khali. Did I miss anything? I'm sure I missed a
Wheelchair
few.
Sports Camp.
Yeah, there we
There's a
go.
bunch.
Yeah, he's pretty much a local legend at this point in Denver, Colorado. Um, how you doing, Wes?
I'm okay. Man, whenever somebody's like, you're a local legend, I start to feel real old, I realize.
Maybe a poor choice of words on my part. I
Oh, I don't
apologize.
think so. I think, thank you. It's very flattering. I'm just like, oh, wow. Like, I guess I've been around for a while now. I've gotten to cycle through a few things.
Yep. Let me turn off my cell phone here before it blows up the whole interview. Um, well, how did you feel like maybe you've been around for a long time since you're now being called a local legend, apparently by other people besides me.
It's
What
happened a handful of times.
what kind of brought you to this point, and how did you kind of happen upon Denver, Colorado?
Well, I'm from Denver.
That
Um,
helps.
So I was born in Germany, but my parents moved to Denver when I was like 6 months old.
Mm-hmm.
So then I grew up in Denver. I went to Denver School of the Arts for high school playing trumpet. And I ended up homeless for a while. And then after all of that, I just all of a sudden, it was overnight. I was in like one band, and then like fast forward like 3 months and I was in three bands. But I mean, I didn't have any work. I didn't have a house. I didn't have rent at the time, so I could focus on it.
Right.
Uh, and then fast forward to now, and I quit most of the things and started my own thing. And even that's not doing very much. And I'm doing whatever. I'm just trying to get gigs for people at this point.
Including yourself. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I have an option now at this point. Now I think the goal is to make sure that everybody has the option.
Right. Can I ask you a little bit about your time being homeless? Um,
Sure.
how did that come to be, and how did that what was that like trying to work your way out of that?
Well, my parents got a divorce, is how that came to be. Um, and I love both my parents, and I still talk to both of them. So it's good. It took some time, and it was messy, but needed to happen. So that's how it came to be. And it lasted for a while. And as far as getting out of it, I trumpet. I don't know. I was just playing on this. I didn't know what else to do. I'm an art school kid. I didn't graduate from DSA. DSA, give me a degree if you watch this. Give me a high school diploma. Like, come on. Anyway, so I just played trumpet like 14 hours a day. I'd go to Lila European Cafe, rest in peace. It closed during all the coronavirus stuff.
Yep.
And I would get a cup of coffee and sit there all night and drink coffee. And then I'd get up in the morning and buy a round trip ticket to the light rail with my tips. And then I just rinse, wash, repeat, maybe go to a yoga class, free yoga at Core Power so I could shower. Occasionally a friend would be in town and be like, hey, just come stay with me for a couple of days. And I would do that. And like I said, Nick Hammerberg showed up. I met Jess Parsons a week before. I'll never forget this because it was a DNC. And I meet Jess Parsons randomly.
2008 DNC then. Yeah.
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 And it's randomly because she's downtown busking, and I had been busking. And I was walking to McDonald's. I made like $2, like walking to McDonald's to get a sandwich. And I hear this beautiful voice, and I turn. And I like, go. Can I play with you for a bit? I don't want any of your tips or anything. I'm a trumpet player. I'm an art school kid. Like, I just love your music. Can I play with you? Play with her for a bit. DNC hits, and me and Jess raked in bones. We raked in a bunch of money busking. And then fast forward after that, like the next week, and Nick Hammerberg is in town. So here on my mic. And he had come back from college. He'd been in college at UNC, and I didn't recognize him, but he was starting Pedals of Spain at the time, and he asked me to join Pedals, and then that's how it all happened. Next month, I was in Air Dubai. The month after that, I was probably playing with whoever. Rowdy Shade House was happening around the same time, so I just kind of, and then from there, Nick was like, come stay with me for a bit, and here we are today. I don't know. Now I'm in this sweet, sweet place with my girl.
That's good. That's a good happy ending. Well, or a happy continuation, I should say. You know. Um, so you talk about trying to get people gigs. What's that like in a pandemic?
Well, I kind of swore off big corporation a few years back just because I was watching them not only take advantage of me sometimes, but the only thing that's going to really piss me off is when you start taking advantage of my peers, um, including piss me off with myself. If I find that I'm accidentally doing that, then I get pissed with myself too, you know? And that being said, um, I swore it off. I don't play like the big corporation gigs really. So I started a bunch of residencies.
Mm-hmm.
So as I get residencies, I can hire musicians to come and play these residencies with me. So I do like one with Venus Cruz, and I really try to give people of color the opportunity. So like
Yeah.
right now, I play with like Khalil Brown on drums a lot, and I play with I don't know, all sorts of Dalmar James on guitar. I play with him a bunch. Just met this harmonica player named JJ Brown, who's killer. I've been playing with him, and Kramer Kelling, I play with him. He's not a person of color, but I still love Kramer. He is a left-handed bass player, which might as well be the same thing.
It's an oddity, right? Yeah. So does he play it upside down?
No way.
No.
He's lefty.
Okay.
That was a joke in poor taste. I'm sorry, everybody.
That's okay.
Sometimes you have to joke about it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, a few minutes ago, you did mention to me that you're working on some, we'll get back to the residencies and stuff, but you did mention to me a few minutes ago that you were working on some 30-second songs. And I thought maybe we could work a couple of those in.
Sure.
And if you just kind of want to jump into one randomly, I won't object.
Oh, okay. The whole thing is that I've been trying to make a podcast musical.
Okay.
Because everybody has a short attention span. It's called attention span, and it's about kind of how everybody forgot that coronavirus is a thing. But I started this back in March, and was like, everybody forgot that coronavirus exists, and here we are. And it's funny because they're all super short and ridiculous, and I don't know. They do things like maybe.
They do things like,
I don't know. It's not going.
oh no.
Let's check what happened here. Oh, I remember what happened. It's my fault. I didn't do this. Could you do screen sharing?
There we go. Don't worry, we can edit this out. I forgot to share that too. Sorry. Okay, it should be good. Should be good now.
I don't mind if you don't edit it out. I think people need to see that we're all human.
That too.
I love it.
That too.
Okay. They say things like this. They say things like, Mister, do you got some friends?
I've been kind of lonely lately.
Window blowing there, okay.
Weather's nice, let's get together, Fred.
I could use a cup of joe.
Runny nose and sticky fingers.
Are you feeling scared? It shows.
Scared of who's been sickly lately now.
Tell me who's the person here.
Tell me who's the kind and giving.
Tell me who's the nurse in here. That's it.
That's it.
That's 30 seconds.
All right. I like it. Applause.
Attention span, everybody's like, nobody reads the books anymore. I think that's the best way to acknowledge that attention span is gone. Like, nobody can sit through a book. It's weird. I read books. I know some people read books, but it's not the same, like everybody's just on their phones. They can read for like 5 minutes and they're like, all right, I got to be on my phone,
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. And I mean, as a parent too, like I battle that daily with a 9-year-old to, hey, maybe you should read a book and not be on it in front of a screen. But it's also like something that you have to integrate. I have to integrate with myself as well. Like, hey, maybe I should put down my phone and read a book once in a while, which I do. I do read books, but but yeah, I agree with you. And so, how does this 30-second podcast musical attention span What's can you run me through the arc, or are we going to hear that over the course of the next 45 minutes?
I can't yet. It's not done. My goal was start with writing these songs. I wrote that actually, this first one, before I had decided. I wrote it. I was like, I should write something about how everybody has a short attention span. It should be like really short and kind of funny, and it should be about coronavirus. Then I realized a 40-minute podcast musical, because I was like, well, like, one, podcasts are kind of hard for me. Like, books are kind of hard for me because I have a short attention span. So I need it to be quick and to the point. So I decided I would write 30-second songs. And the idea is pretty much that it's just you have like maybe a handful of characters, 10 or 12 characters. Some of them stay at home. Some are a group that always go out and are like, hey, come to the park. And like, some are like, it's a bunch of different characters. And you kind of just run through like their experience. Now the villain is in pretty much everything. I never say what the villain's name is, but the villain's coronavirus, Like, hey, because coronavirus is kind of fun. When he first comes around, you're like, I kind of like this guy. He's like, let's go party. He like gives me money from the government. I kind of like him, And then you realize he's just tricking you.
Right. It's tricking you into a life of depression and isolation, right?
No. He's tricking you into the life of depression and isolation. I think that's actually the best thing that we've experienced. I think that people had to sit with themselves. If we wanted the world to change at all, the reason that we're seeing all of the race stuff come up is because people had to sit with themselves for a while. And so I think that's the good side. It's not the fun side, but it's the good side. The fun side is going to a packed bar, going to a show, knowing that chances are you're getting sick. And if you're not getting sick already, you're probably getting somebody else sick. You're spreading infection. The infection is actually not being able to sit with yourself.
Got it. Okay. I like that. Yeah. So like the alluring element of the villain is that you can go out, you can go be social, but everyone's going to get sick, you included. Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I'm never going to say you're going to get sick, because I don't want it to be, too on the nose, But the villain's fun and easy. The good guy is boring and serious.
Responsible, practical, right?
Well, they're still fun at home. I've had enough time to write, 15, 30-second songs and probably a slew of other stuff,
Yeah.
Home is fun.
It can be, certainly. And I mean, I think we've all, like you said, having to sit at home has all made us a little bit more creative, perhaps. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think everything happened in a way that well, one, as soon as coronavirus happened, anybody who was in the entertainment industry had to start reimagining what their job is, which is good. You need that occasionally, because otherwise it gets mundane. You're doing the same thing and it becomes work. It's not passion anymore. As soon as you have to start using your imagination for it, it's different. But in that also, like, as all of the race crises across the country and just how our country is as humans in general is happening, I think it was a good time for me to be reimagining myself anyway, So most of my stuff, I have some fun stuff like that, but most of the stuff I've been writing is pretty serious. It's still fun. And, but it, some of it's like really serious right now,
Well, I've never experienced any of your music that wasn't fun, although I think almost all of it has a pretty serious element to it. Do you have anything you want to share regarding that?
Well, sure. Are you a James Baldwin fan?
I would say I'm not sure I would call myself a fan, but I'm not against it.
I've been getting really, really into James Baldwin. It's another thing that's because you have time all of a sudden to listen. I'm like watching all these old interviews, Muhammad Ali, James Baldwin. So I started doing some more samples. Mm-hmm. This is a different idea I'm working on where I want to make a cartoon. Now I have no clue how this is so in the beginning stages,
Right.
But I've written 5 songs in this concept of this cartoon that's going to be like Schoolhouse Rock,
Uh-huh.
This is the idea. It's going to be like Schoolhouse Rock, but it'll be like about American history, but like blunt, like not like happy people like running through the park like adverbs. Like instead it's like integrated crowds like singing about, you'll see. Anyway,
Okay.
this is the first one. It's called Real Life Stories of History 1.
Sounds good.
I can't be a pessimist because I'm alive. To be a pessimist means that you have agreed that human life is an academic matter. So I'm forced to be an optimist. I'm forced to believe that we can survive, and survive. But
For a ship or a sail made of cotton.
For
You belong, it belongs to me. Real stories. For a haircut, sir, have a penny. For a have a day. You there back to work. Built my house till my feet. Real life stories of history. 'Cause we built you your shit for free.
and then they got this where's this James Baldwin at here? I don't know. That's enough of that. I didn't finish it, but it was an amount of it.
I had myself muted. Hang on just a second.
Oh, no stress.
Okay, I'm back. I liked it, particularly the part where you're talking about how we build your shit for free, because isn't that the name of capitalism in America?
Yeah, I mean, and that line is kind of the running theme through all 5 of them. It's like, but the most recent one I wrote is about how like I never thought that I would like be sitting in a room watching like grumpy old white men be like, vote for this brown woman, she's better than the grumpy old white man. But like it's because she's better than what they could imagine, and something that I think they have been. I hope everybody's voting. Anyway, we won't talk about that. But
We can talk about that. I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah, I mean, I think people know what I want. If they don't, I'll just say it like this. It's not so much that I believe that Biden or Harris are like amazing individuals who are going to change my life astronomically for the better, like them. I do think that the alternative could have the exact opposite effect. I think that Trump elected again, that could be my life. So don't vote for him. You want to see a mass exodus of artists from the States? Let Trump get elected another time. Artists are gone because we can't survive anyway right now. Also, black people are gone because they're killing us anyway right now. And I don't know. I think they're, Biden and Harris, they're fine. They're not amazing. I'm not like, I love this. I loved AOC.
Right. No, and I agree with you. Like it's hard to get super excited about those candidates, and it's easy to feel, being forced between 2 bad choices. That's often how I feel, but nevertheless, like here we are, and somebody described it as maybe we need to fight fascism today and neoliberalism tomorrow.
That's it. I mean, if we had 4 years to plan for a legitimate third party, that changes everything.
Well, didn't we have 4 years to plan for a legitimate third party in 2016?
Yeah, but people weren't pissed off like they are now. People didn't have to sit at home with themselves and face themselves, and they're just scrolling through Instagram watching how people, it's hard to turn a blind eye to America killing black people on social media. when you're stuck at home. You can, if you're like able to go out, you go to the bar, you go get brunch with your friends, you go and do, there's lots of distractions in the world. But when you're at home, it's hard. It's almost impossible to get away from.
Do you feel like the once the kind of the wave of protests in June into July kind of faded off a little bit, that maybe people's attention span, you know, it stopped holding their attention at that point, that maybe that movement had a lot of
Yeah, I mean, in Denver, you know, Baltimore is still going through it. Portland's still going through it. You know what I mean? Like in Denver, yeah, but that's because Denver's segregated. White people don't have to look at black people, brown people if they don't want to. Denver is super, super segregated. I'm from here, you know, like you can't get away from us everywhere else, you know, like some places you're going to see us. And I'm surprised actually that, because I've been to Portland quite a number of times, and I'm surprised that Portland went off as hard as it did. Mostly because it's another place where I feel like it's easy to get away from it. You don't have to face self all the time, you know?
You can escape to your mountain home.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Or just like, you know, a different neighborhood, you know, across the street. It's funny. I live in Lincoln Park, right? So where I live, on the side of the street I live is Lincoln Park. Across the side of the street is Baker. And it's funny because then I see everybody. I'm in like a hood where I see like everybody. Santa Fe Art District's right there. The school I was teaching at is majority Hispanic. Like I see all sorts of people. Across the street, however, that's not true. Like it is a thing where you can cross the street and be like, I'm done with it. You know?
Yeah, no. And you can kind of see the creep of gentrification, white gentrification, just moving in certain directions. My partner is a Latinx person from Denver, from the West Side, right off of First and Sheridan. And these days you go out there where my in-laws are still, and you can kind of see it's the whiteness taking over. And you see it in, and I might piss some people off by saying this, but you see it in like people jogging, white people jogging, and white people walking their dogs. And all of a sudden, like, you know, that's just, you can see it coming.
The homie always jokes around with me because look, there was a while where I tuned out from everything because I was so frustrated. Felt like I'd been saying the same thing. I just tuned out. And right before then, I was pissed off about everything. I'm still pissed off about everything, but I can represent it a little better. But the homie, she's like, yeah, Wes, I understand what you're saying about 5 points. I left school today. She was teaching at Manual. She's like, I left school today, and as I'm leaving, there's like dogs and strollers all around me. And I'm like, what is this? You know, I'm like, I feel you, fool. Like, I don't know. To be said, I'm more king than X in at least this way. I don't really believe in segregation either way. I think having traveled around the world, I like an international city. You know, I like to go into a room and I see everybody, because then you have all these different cultures and that makes its own vibe.
Yeah.
So I want to see everybody in the same room comfortably.
Yeah.
So I don't want it to go one way or the other. Unfortunately, it might have to swing the other way for us to center out, you know, but.
Yeah. And I think, you know, maybe to clarify a little bit what I'm talking about when I'm speaking of gentrification is kind of the change in zoning to increase land value, and you raise the property taxes so that people who lived there before, especially people of color, can't afford to live there anymore. And that's happened a lot in Denver. And I agree with you 100% when you say I prefer an international city. But you also, in order to have an international city, you have to have affordable housing, and you have to have an arts community. And unfortunately, I've lived here well over a decade now, and it's been slowly or fast moving in the wrong direction, in my opinion. And so I guess my question to you is, Wes, is what do you, as an artist who lives and works here, what do you do about that?
I've been talking about this a lot lately because you can't just be like depressed about it all the time. One, I think you have to talk about it. I
Yeah.
think that's the first thing. And then two, I think at least for cats my age, I'm 32. Like cats, and not it's not so much about my age as it's about the era. I think we're starting to get bitter, and I think for cats in that era, we have to dream bigger. Um, I always use the analogy that I've been dreaming about going out. Inevitably, I know some conversation about race is going to come up in a really whack way. Inevitably, doesn't matter. Every time I go out, it's going to happen. So I've been dreaming about for so long having that conversation come up and being able to talk about it and feeling heard and seeing change happen. Instead of having that dream, I need to be dreaming about not even having to think about that happening, you know?
Yeah. You dream bigger, and you dream about that difference. Like for example, like I'm a white person, and I don't have to deal with that conversation if I don't want to have to deal with that, and that's a privilege that I have as a white person. But yeah, being able to go out as with who you are and never have to deal with that from somebody is that what you're getting at? Because we
Yeah,
don't
I
have
mean,
to.
no, I'm saying that I need to dream about that. I'm saying that like that's just an example. I think in general, we need to dream bigger. I have this song, it says the lines like, I used to be able to imagine when I grew up, I'd have a big house. I'd buy up all the properties in Denver. I'd house the houseless. I'd house the artist. I'd integrate the city, and our country wasn't. And then it's an ellipses, But
Yeah.
that's the vibe. Is like, look, it's not. I'm living in this house right now, and it's amazing. It's the nicest place I've ever been in. Look, when I was a kid, this would have been beans. I was dreaming like I'm gonna have a mansion. I'm gonna have a studio room. I'm gonna have a room with just a grand piano. I'm gonna have a room full of vases to break when I'm pissed off. I'm gonna have like the homies who I can hire. Like I'm gonna, it's like it was gonna be and this is the nicest place I've ever lived in. But we have to dream bigger. We have to find our inner child, as they say.
I like that. Can we hear another song?
Sure. Let's see. Maybe I'll just do this. Like this one I've never played. I've never really played out at all. It's
Okay.
brand new.
I love it.
So there might be some mistakes, but whatever,
We're living with it, so.
Yeah, good. Yes, there's tape on my piano. I've been messing with the sounds of a piano.
How have you been messing with the sounds, and what does the tape do?
Well, it mutes it, and depending on where it's taped, what kind of tape it is, how tight the tape is on it, it just changes the sound. Yeah, I don't know.
Cool.
That's kind of the vibe.
Right on.
So recently, I'll give you a little precursor to this song. Recently, a buddy of mine did a giant mural of me.
Uh-huh.
And it came at the perfect time because 2 weeks previously, the cops had sat me down in cuffs. We were walking home for 45 minutes, wouldn't tell me what the hell was going on, and I was in a pretty low place in general in life. And then my buddy was like, "Let me take a picture of you and do this mural, and you can think about that." And then you see that for the first time, and it blew me away. It's like my giant grumpy face looking out over Denver, and I love that.
Where is the mural?
It's in between Park and 24th on Curtis. Hyro did it, and he's dope.
Cool.
And anyway, so I've been working on a set of songs since that has happened, because I'm not very good with words. Like he was like, "Well, I would like it if you'd say something about it," and it like means a lot to me, more than I could think of. So I've been trying to write a set of songs kind of around the idea of it to get the full picture. This is the sad song that comes from that.
Okay.
Arms crossed, eyes closed, can't see, I'm not looking your way. Am I speaking on police or just your day-to-day? My bottom lips gain weight from all the days I'm in. Am I Ooh, empathy seems better to me, given opportunity.
There's a few mistakes, whatever. That's the idea on the song, though. So that's kind of the start of the vibe. Is like the cops that threw me so low. Do you like cartoons? You said you have a 9-year-old, so I imagine you do.
Oh, yes. Different generation of cartoons for 9-year-olds than the ones you and I grew up with. But,
Well, yeah, for sure.
But I still love cartoons.
So you know Avatar?
Mm-hmm.
So
Last Airbender.
Either one.
Okay.
Both are good. I actually really believe. It took me a while to get into Legend of Korra, but then I realized a few years later that it was because it hits too close to home.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
My son loves Legend of Korra. Loves both of them, but Legend of Korra was like his fave. So
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because for so long I was like Last Airbender all the way. But this year I finally think I switched over because it is the spiritual side of it, and even like kind of the weird race kind of dichotomy there. I think
For
it hits
sure.
close to home.
Yeah.
Anyway, in there, Uncle Iroh says, he's like, oftentimes when you hit your lowest point, you're open to the greatest change. And so when like the cops and all that happens, that was probably when I was like, all right, I'm fucking over it. This is terrible. And then my buddy hit me up, took the picture, he painted the thing, and it started pulling me out of it. And for so long, I've been like, especially at my darkest point, I'm like, everybody sucks. I'm over it. Like, nobody wants to face their shit. Everybody's walking around like, my farts smell like roses. It's like, no, just like, take a good whiff of this,
Yeah.
And that goes for me too, which is why I have that line.
Ooh, empathy seems better to me.
Is because I, for so long, have been like angry and like talking to people about it and blunt. My parents are East Coasters. I'm blunt,
Yeah.
And but then that doesn't work all the time. And maybe being able to show people in whatever way that is, even if it is like I'm still blunt, but when you get defensive, I have empathy. I can understand like that experience and try and work through it, even though I don't want to. It makes me feel like I'm dealing with children.
Yeah, and that is like dealing with children sometimes, or all the time, really. But no, I'm with you. And having that type of empathy for others is really key, I think, in the things we've been talking about and achieving change and building community, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to get back to the residency stuff you were talking a little bit, and I want to pose a question like, you found yourself in a position now where you're able to try and help other people and build some, I guess, kind of a DIY sort of idea, where we're really lacking DIY in this city, and have been for a few years. And what would you say to somebody who is a young musician, who's a person of color, about trying to develop themselves in this scene? What would you approach that with?
I think it's always kind of been the same formula since jazz. You find cats like me, I found Venus when I was a kid,
Yeah.
To be said, I don't know if I found, you know what I mean? Like you find yourself in a room and maybe somebody's there. Somebody like me is definitely looking out to be like, okay, this cat like needs somebody around to be like, yo, like I can get you into like this place and you can make your own relationships, and that's it. It's always been that since Art Blakey, since before then, you know, like you want to be in the scene, like go and seek out those who are looking out for you. Don't try to impress those who don't care about you. Go and seek out those who are looking out for you, and you'll find yourself in the scene, you know?
Yeah. Do you think, how do you feel about Denver's inclusivity, Denver's music scene inclusivity? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well,
you can call me out. It's fine.
I just mean, well, okay. That the first thing I think is this: is it okay? I wasn't at Red Rocks until I was over 21, and I was playing it the first time I was there. I was playing with Air Dubai. Before then, maybe a year before that, I knew Red Rocks existed. You know?
Okay. You knew maybe a year before then. Okay.
Maybe, you know?
Okay.
I as a minority, that the idea of paying $20 for a show even seems so far-fetched to me. I still don't have a car. The light rail wasn't going out there.
Right.
Like when you think about having inclusivity or accessibility, the first thing I think about is who can pay for it, who can get there, and why.
Yeah.
But I think, unfortunately, I think unknowingly musicians have been catering towards that because we deserve to get paid, right? And because we deserve to get paid, we get bullied into like bad contracts, bad deals with all of these places.
Yeah.
They're like, you need to go and you need to sell like 200, 300 tickets for this. If you want to make $600 and they're $15 tickets and it's at the Gothic Theater.
Yep.
And it's like, well, who can come? Like we are being bullied by the system to do that. This is why I stopped playing these corporate gigs like that. I don't want to play for those corporations because they don't even know that they're doing it. They're not aware, I don't think. Maybe towards the upper echelon, they're aware. But the grunts who are doing it have no clue that that's what they're doing. And so they think what they're doing is trying to get musicians paid. But also what they're doing is trying to get white musicians paid.
Yeah.
That, you know, because who has that community, who has the friends who can afford that, who has, you know, it removes that aspect of it. Now, if we could find or popularize the idea of like patron again, you know, then we would see that because that's how art became popular in the first place. Is there was a patron to say, whoa, what you're doing is really cool. I can't describe this. Let me pay you so you can do some more of this.
Yeah.
Until that happens again, I think for minorities, we just got to kind of stick with each other and tough it out because nobody else is going to. I catered and played backing white musicians for minus Air Dubai for most of my career. And here I am now in my 30s, like having an existential crisis. Like, wait, nobody cares about what I write necessarily?
Right.
And then I swung the other way with the other black, unknowingly. It wasn't my idea, you know. I made that band name when my first trip to New Orleans, had no clue what the band was going to look like at the time. I was like, this is going to be the name of the band. This is going to be the content, you know?
Yeah.
And then swung the other way. And now I've just like, I kind of put everything to the back and been like, let me just book black people for a bit.
And I think that's good. Ironically, of course, you did play Red Rocks as with the other black. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How did that come about?
They, you know, I've known those cats since my first Red Rocks was with Air Dubai doing Film on the Rocks.
Mm-hmm.
So I've known those cats since then.
Okay.
And it's funny because they were like, everybody was like, sign. And I was like, I'm not signing till I'm back another time. I was like stubborn about it. And of course, I ended up back there years later with Night Sweats. I signed them.
Right. Okay.
But they hit me up. They asked if I would do a Film on the Rocks. And I said, yeah, of course. You know, it's a great opportunity and good gig. Also that year, I got to play with Youth on Record, the youth band. And that was dope. Sorry, I don't know if you can tell I've lost a tooth. I have a speech impediment.
I lost a tooth? Is that what you said?
Uh-huh.
Wow, look at it. That's a big old gap.
Yep.
Did you bring a knife to an orange fight? I don't know.
No, some bone disease, and lost it a couple years back.
Oh my.
Was going to have surgery in March this year in Mexico because I was going there for a wedding anyway.
There you go.
Of course, March
There it
happened,
is.
and here I am. And now I kind of like it because one, it helps with the inner child,
There you go.
and two, I think people take me a little bit more seriously when I'm out.
Like, oh man, that guy's missing a tooth. Look out.
Yeah, I don't know how
He
he
doesn't
lost
care.
it. I don't know if I should ask. It's true. I never cared. I'm always crazy.
That's funny. Well, yeah, thank you for your frankness in that answer. I know I put you on the spot there, but I appreciate your answer. I think it's important for that stuff to be said. I want to ask you about your process a little bit. We can see a little bit of what you got going on here, and clearly for the purpose of this interview and guessing for your teaching and stuff, you've got like a headpiece and all sorts of stuff going on. So you've talked a little bit about how you write, but I just was wondering if you could get a little bit more in depth on how you put these songs together musically,
Yeah. Well, I got this headpiece actually so I could fit it under my mask.
Okay, right on.
Gigs. And it's funny because I can heckle people and they don't know it's me. But never heckle a heckler. Anyway, as far as like writing, a lot of times I think inspiration will hit. I've been doing a lot of research since I've had time to, just to civics, humanities kind of things, wellness,
yeah.
Whatever you want to call it, history, chronicles, whatever. So as I started to do all that research, I kind of wanted to incorporate the things that I was learning through that.
Sure.
But then I realized if you just give somebody like a bunch of facts, it's not going to take. It's going to be a thing where it's like, okay, I'm bored. So I'm trying to give that in a way that can be understood, That's why I have for a haircut, sir, have a penny. For a milk crate, ma'am, have a dime. You there, back to work,
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I mean, I think inspiration, at one of my residencies, it's oftentimes easy 70% improvisation. And I was talking to my homie the other day about it. I've been playing a lot of piano, and I was like, man, the thing is, I've been practicing a lot trying to get better, but I don't think I'm getting better. I don't have like chops. I don't know how I got to the place I am as a musician. I don't have chops like on trumpet, on keys, like singing. I don't have chops like people have chops. And my buddy turned to me and goes, yeah, but I don't know anybody who can write 20 songs a night and not think a thing about it. And so I think that's kind of my vibe. I mean, I really, if you want to know what my process is, it's, where is my, I don't know where I put it, but I have like sticky notes,
Yeah.
So I'll like just start with there's some here, but I'll start with like one idea. I'll sit down to practice. Eventually something comes up, put up an idea up and like play. And then I'll maybe eventually over time think of like something. I'll like hum along. Maybe something sounds like a lyric. And then as soon as that sounds like a lyric, usually by that point, the song's about done,
Sure. Yeah.
And then I take forever to write it, like to record it and to record drums on it. And then it takes forever to add everything else in for me because I don't know how to take things back necessarily.
Yeah. No, I understand. So you were mentioning earlier about the piano. I sort of had you talk about how you're experimenting with piano sounds. You had any revelations regarding that?
Well, yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, this, truthfully, to be said, I can't take any credit for this in a way. Like when I was in arts high school, I remember cats holding a piece of paper on a grand piano. But obviously, I don't have a grand piano, and I'm not going to like reach across with a piece of paper and hold it up. And if my hands are on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, maybe I could tape it. I have all this extra tape because I went and called a bunch of buddies and taped 6 feet away through all of Civic Center when all the protests were happening. So I have like lots of extra tape.
Protest tape.
Protest tape, yeah. Now it's piano tape. P-tape.
P-tape.
But yeah, so this is duct tape. sounds kind of guitar-y or like hammer dulcimer. And then
Yeah. Harpsichord almost.
I love the harpsichord. That makes a lot of sense. And then this is just masking tape here. And then, of course, you can always do the. That's kind of a nice sound.
It's grand. It's an entrance.
And then that's just like regular. And then, you know, sometimes I've been experimenting with tacks and like just things to give the piano more sounds. Not that I'm ever going to have a piano at a gig, but I can sample it.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you write with the piano primarily?
Yeah. I mean, either piano or synth. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
Okay.
Okay. Well, have you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I think that lots of people kind of know you as a trumpet player just because of, you know, well, you played trumpet for Nathaniel Rateliff, probably that's a big part of it. But, and so it's, you know, it's cool to see some more process there, the different instrumentation that you're able to put together.
You know, I've been singing and playing piano actually longer than trumpet. That
makes sense, you know. I mean, that's
kind of. I'm pretty bad at piano still, but better than some, you know.
Good enough to perform with it, certainly.
Stubborn enough to perform with
Stubborn enough.
Fake it till you make it.
There you go. Well, do you want to give us one more song and send us off with whatever you want? I mean,
okay, this one's kind of fun. It's not as so like obviously I love a concept, as everybody can tell. So when I before all of this, the last concept I really had that I was trying to get together for The Other Black actually was I wanted to do a bunch of doo-wop songs. So I wrote one that was like, home is where the heart is, you help, but I don't want to play that one, you know, but
okay.
So this is I think the 6th or 7th kind of doo-wop-y style song in my head as I've heard, you know. But now we've had Nail and Swamp Dogg and they've already done it, so I'll probably never do it. But this one I call the Levy. It goes like, this just might be written long before our time. We just didn't listen. Now we're sitting proud but strong, silly. Stronger than we were before, but afraid to carry on. Glad to have a roof and more, but we're singing sadder songs. Yes, singing sadder songs. This is life-ish. Oh, I guess that this is life, kid. Maybe I'm afraid to fail, but I'm not afraid to fall. And maybe I don't want to win, I don't want to play at all. Say that. Does that mean that I don't want it? And I always have to grind. I know I might be young, yeah, but I'm tired all the time. Goddamn tired all the time. So let your wine, child. Pour me one more glass of wine, child. Maybe I'm afraid to fail, but I'm not afraid to fall. And maybe I don't want to win, I don't want to
Does that mean that I don't want it and I always have to grind? I know I might be young, yeah, but I'm tired all the time. Goddamn tired all the time. So let me wine, child, and pour me one more glass of wine, child. Oh, I feel more broke than many, but I'm wealthier than most. Because I'm out of bed most every day. Please just let me have that bullshit. I'm just trying to be grateful, though inside I feel like dying. I'm just trying to play catch up, but the race takes so much time, and I'm running out of time. Oh. Feel my bro. Tired all the time, oh so tired all the time, and the race takes so much time, and I'm reading all the signs. So let me wine, child, and pour me one more glass of wine, child. Well, wait for the snow to come, things will get brighter, hon. Wait for the setting sun, wait for the rolling thunder. Just keep on steady now, wait till you're ready now. On you I'm betting now, so stay on the levee now. That's that tune. Called the Levy, which I keep thinking about renaming it because it seems insensitive, but I guess my thought was that like it is people are dying, things are changing, it is not fun, but it might be the path to stay on if we want things to change, you know.
Well, and I think that in time that, you know, you have to stand up and say something, right? Yeah. These things have to continue to be said. And it's the fact that the burden often falls on someone like you to say that is unfair, but I admire you for continuing to say it.
Yeah, you know, I think the burden is on the artist to say it. Honestly, it's not just on me. It's just that I'm one who will acknowledge it because I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
But I think the burden does fall on artists to say. That's what Nina Simone said.
Yeah. No, that's true. You have a microphone, you have a voice, and you have a platform. So.
That's the name of the game.
What's your favorite concept album, Wes? Concept album, in quotation marks.
Well, you know, the other night I listened to actually wait, I can tell you what my favorite is. I will say this. The other night I listened to Multi Love, Unknown Mortal Orchestra all the way through, and I hadn't done that, and it is I'm mad to say it, but it's a masterpiece. I don't know why I'm mad to say it. I don't, you know, it's great. But my favorite, I think, in modern times is Good Kid, Mad City. Kendrick Lamar. That start to finish. Everybody just knows Swimming. And it's funny. That's how people were like, Wes, you're going to love Kendrick. Because I was like, acid rap. 100%. Chance the Rapper. I feel the exact inverse as I did then now. Where like I'm like way more a Kendrick fan than I am a Chance fan now. But it's because everybody was like, check out this song, Swimming Pools. Or they'd play me like whatever, like nonsense from that. And then I listened to it after To Pimp a Butterfly came out, and I listened to that through, and I was like, whoa, what is this? Is amazing, you know? Right. And I went back and listened to all of his other stuff, and Good Kid, Mad City is my favorite album of his, and I think the best concept album of our modern generation.
Well, it's a bold statement. I do agree that Kendrick Lamar, I think, is a grower. type of artist. I don't think I've actually sat down and listened to a single album of his and like been crazy about it the first time, but I've come back and really enjoyed it. You know, it's
Yeah, I agree. You know, Damn still hasn't won me over.
sorry, who?
Damn, the last one, the third one.
Oh yeah. I
Hasn't got
actually
me
think that's
yet.
my favorite. I actually
That's
do
your
think
favorite.
I
See,
do
now I
think it's
gotta
my
go and
favorite.
listen to it more. So funny.
I don't know. I think
It's
just
just funny how like minds work. Where like some people are like this, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Uh-oh.
And I mean, it's just there's something sonically that appeals to me about that album. I just really think it's a solid, like methodically thorough, and like there's just nothing. I can't find many faults in it, and
Did you
that.
listen to it in the reverse order too?
You mean as it was released, or how do you mean?
So when it was released, there was this whole thing about listening to it from the end to the beginning, like in reverse order.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Which I
I
did,
don't.
and it's good. I don't know that it was like an intentional thing. I think you could probably do that with most albums, you know?
It felt very like Dark Side of the Moon and Wizard of Ozzy,
Yeah.
in that it kind of works, but like was it really intentional? I don't know, or is it just a weird coincidence?
Yeah.
You know?
I think if you have a good album, you know, it's going to go. If you know how to make an album and it's like you wrote it with the intention of it being on an album, it's track listing start to finish, you know what the singles are on it, you kind of know how to arrange it, that should always work probably, you know?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, I do think there are some albums that probably, this is maybe 20 years, 30 years ago, where it was really more important for bands to really like, this is the start of the album and you have to listen to this song at the end of the album.
Yeah.
I think like Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness comes to mind like that, where like there's a clear you know, beginning, middle, and end to that album. And I think Billy Corgan himself would probably argue that if you don't listen to it in that order, you're not truly appreciating it. But
That's it.
but it's,
And I think once again, but to go back even before jazz, I mean, you think about Western music, you think about classical music, you know, these big classical pieces, things couldn't necessarily be recorded. It was with the intention of the beginning and the end, you know, like, and the story throughout it. So, I mean, I feel that. It's funny, people used to write songs that were an hour long, and now we write albums. Attention span.
Wow. We brought that full circle, didn't we?
We did.
Awesome. Well, Wes, unfortunately, we're all out of time. I could spend hours talking to you and listening to you.
Call me whenever, man.
I really appreciate your time. You have anything you'd like to close with?
Build our stories of history. Yes, we built you this shit for free. Then we screamed and we bled until you'd pretend you were listening to me.
Thank you so much, Wes. It was a real pleasure having you.
Hey,
Until next time, this was